In the suffocating darkness of Guadalcanal's jungle perimeter, a sentry heard footsteps. A figure approached, possibly American, possibly Japanese, wearing a captured uniform. The wrong decision meant death, his own or a fellow Marine's. The sentry whispered a single word: Lollapalooza. The response would determine whether he pulled the trigger. The Invisible Weapon, August 7, 1942. When 11,000 U.S. Marines stormed ashore at Guadalcanal in the first major Allied offensive against Japan, they faced an enemy that fought with suicidal determination and tactical cunning. Japanese soldiers infiltrated American lines at night, sometimes wearing captured uniforms, sometimes speaking English. In jungle darkness, where visibility dropped to feet, traditional identification methods failed. Documents could be forged. Uniforms could be stolen. Even voices could deceive. The Marines needed something an infiltrator couldn't fake, something rooted in the structure of language itself. Master Technical Sergeant James W. Hurlbut, a combat correspondent who landed with the assault forces, later explained the solution in a March 10, 1943 interview. "We always had passwords including the letter L, because L was thought to be hard for the Japanese to pronounce, since there is no L in the Japanese vocabulary. This simple observation would save countless American lives." The science of sound. The effectiveness of this linguistic shibboleth, a term from the Hebrew Bible where the Gileadites identified enemy Ephraimites by their pronunciation, stemmed from fundamental differences between Japanese and English sound systems. Japanese possesses only one liquid phoneme, represented as R, but pronounced differently from either English R or L. Japanese speakers produce this sound by quickly tapping the tongue against the ridge behind the upper teeth. English, by contrast, has two distinct liquid sounds: the L, tongue firmly against the ridge with air flowing around the sides, and the R, tongue pulled back without touching the roof of the mouth. These sounds occupy completely different phonetic spaces for English speakers, but fall within a single perceptual category for Japanese speakers. This wasn't physical inability. Japanese speakers could produce both sounds with training and hear acoustic differences in isolation. The problem was categorical perception established during childhood language acquisition. Research after the war confirmed this. Studies found that Japanese speakers who had lived in the United States for over 12 years still struggled to distinguish R and L sounds reliably. Under stress, fatigue, or time pressure, conditions faced by infiltrators at checkpoints, automatic native pronunciation patterns would emerge regardless of training or preparation. The perfect password. According to journalist Oliver Gramling in his 1942 book, Free Men Are Fighting, sentries used words like Lollapalooza, American slang for something outstanding. If challenged soldiers pronounced the first two syllables as Rora, sentries would open fire without waiting for the remainder. Lollapalooza represented an ideal choice. 4 L sounds in rapid succession, Lo-la-palooza, each presenting difficulty for Japanese speakers. The instruction to listen to only the first 2 syllables made tactical sense. Sentries didn't need the complete password to identify mispronunciation, reducing exposure time during challenges. While Gramling's book is the only known source for this specific word, it was published contemporaneously in 1942, and the author was a credible Associated Press journalist with military access. The word fits documented practices perfectly, though independent corroboration would strengthen the claim. What remains certain is Hurlbut's direct testimony. L-based passwords were systematically used throughout the campaign. The real-world application. By August 8, 1600 hours, Marines had captured the nearly completed Japanese airfield, renamed Henderson Field. Security around the airfield and defensive perimeter became paramount as Japanese forces launched repeated infiltration attempts over the 6-month campaign. The threat was real and persistent. Japanese soldiers employed excellent camouflage, attached jungle vegetation to uniforms, and moved with remarkable stealth through carefully studied terrain. Some spoke English. Instances were recorded of Japanese forces attempting to impersonate American personnel. Hurlbut noted an interesting additional security indicator. On at least one occasion, a sentry detected infiltrators because they used grammar much too precise for the average Marine. One reportedly said, "Hold your fire. We are American Marines and wish to report our evening's activities," prompting immediate fire because no Marine would talk that way. The limitations. The test wasn't foolproof. Hurlbut acknowledged it. Sometimes failed with English-educated Japanese, revealing Marines encountered infiltrators with varying English proficiency. Any Japanese individual with childhood exposure to English would have acquired native-like pronunciation and could pass L-based tests. The test also risked false positives. American forces included Filipino scouts, Chinese Americans, and others whose English might carry non-standard pronunciations. However, phonological differences between Filipino languages and Japanese meant Filipino speakers typically had no difficulty with L and R sounds, as these phonemes exist in Tagalog and other Philippine languages. Most significantly, over 6,000 Japanese-American soldiers served as translators, interpreters, and intelligence specialists through the Military Intelligence Service Language School. These Nisei, second-generation Japanese Americans, spoke English with native pronunciation and would pass any L-based challenge automatically. Their invaluable contributions to Allied intelligence occurred while many of their families remained confined in internment camps. The legacy. The 6-month Guadalcanal campaign ended February 9, 1943, with successful Japanese evacuation of remaining troops. American forces suffered approximately 7,100 killed and 8,000 wounded. Throughout the campaign, pronunciation testing provided an elegant solution to a genuine security problem. It exploited real phonological differences, required no special equipment, could be administered in seconds, and provided reasonable identification when other methods proved unreliable. The practice influenced security procedures in subsequent conflicts. During D-Day, American forces used Flash Thunder Welcome as challenge password countersign, specifically because German speakers found the and w sounds difficult. Similar principles were applied in Vietnam and later conflicts, though modern technology added voice stress analysis and dialect identification. The human dimension. The story reminds us that military success depends on countless small innovations by those facing immediate problems. The recognition that language differences could be exploited for identification demonstrated practical intelligence and tactical flexibility. The honest history, based solely on verified evidence, is remarkable enough without embellishment. It shows American forces adapting to jungle warfare, exploiting linguistic differences to improve security, and innovating at the tactical level. Most importantly, it demonstrates that pronunciation testing was fundamentally a measure of language background rather than ethnicity. Japanese Americans serving in the Pacific passed tests automatically because their linguistic identity was American, regardless of ethnic heritage. In the suffocating darkness of Guadalcanal's perimeter, a single letter became the difference between life and death. The humble L, impossible for Japanese speakers to pronounce correctly under pressure, became an invisible weapon that saved American lives through the elegant application of linguistic science to tactical necessity.